Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tier 4 Racing. It is Monday. My name is Stryfium. Joining me for all of it will be Mr. Unicorn. Now, we are just on a slight delay as we're just getting the lobby sorted out, as we are going to be just waiting on Unicorn right now and some of the drivers with updates. I think some of the drivers had some updates and things like this. We're going to be getting everybody in the lobby. If anybody has another driver in the lobby, of course, on their friends, try and join. I currently have Undertaker, Baza, Matt, Blind, Grenade, Four-Door, Alexander, and Disaster in the lobby. So we'll have Unicorn in here in just a moment. Of course, George is just getting things dialed in, so he'll be joining us on the commentary in just a few seconds. But Italy. It is round number 5 of Season 5. And I am very, very excited to get racing here. And of course, well, George, are you with me, sir?
Yeah, absolutely, Schiff. I'm here. And, well, Monza. Well, it's been an exciting weekend of Monza racing. Obviously, we had our endurance race on Saturday. And then yesterday, well, what a race that was. And I'm sure we'll go down in the history book. So there's already been a lot of exciting action here around Monza. And, well, I hope that continues tonight and throughout the week as well.
Just getting everybody in still. All right. Unicorn is now in. And with that, we'll be getting ready to go here very, very shortly, as we'll just get all the final drivers into the lobby. Now, today there has been an update. The update, of course, presenting changes to the handling and the performance of the cars, and so we may see ourselves with a very, very interesting race just ahead of us. Of course, with that, safety car of the Aston Martin has been implemented in the game and will be present in circuits where we see it in reality. I'm not entirely sure if Italy is one of those circuits or not, but it could very well be. And when we jump in, I don't recall what it was yesterday.
I think it is the Mercedes around
Waffle saying, yeah, Waffle saying it's the Mercedes. Appreciate that. And big shout out to Waffleorian for the resub 5 months. And thank you to everybody in the stream with the support, of course. It is very, very much appreciated. And again, sorry for the delay, but only been a couple of moments. We're delayed here, and that's not too shabby.
Yeah, the last invites, etc., as the last couple of drivers just trickle in to the lobby, and we'll get things underway. We are expecting the full 20 grid.
Anyone in the chat could let us know about the audio, if everything's sounding all right. As per usual, I did have personally a bit of an audio issue these past couple days, so I had to try something new, and then I had to revert back, and so now I'm back where things were with my audio. However, I just want to make sure that Unicorn and I are sounding crisp and clear. Qualifying always kind of presents us an opportunity to get into that. But of course, where are my manners, ladies and gentlemen? Just as we're about to get ready to go here, let's take you through the Italian Grand Prix circuit. It is the Circuit de Monza. It is Italy. 11 turns of absolute pure intensity. We've seen it already in the Endurance Series just this past weekend. And of course, who could forget the extremely exciting Grand Prix that was yesterday? And big shout out to the McLarens for securing their 1-2 in that. And speaking of McLarens, they have 36 points here in this championship right now. They're in 5th. Let's see what they can do today. Trick Sam and Kane Van over for McLaren. However, everything looking very good for the Ferrari-powered units in the top 4 right now. You have Grenade Goran leading this championship, 63 points. Polypunk with 51. Daz, 3 points in his rearview mirrors. And of course, that's been a very intense championship so far for Daz. We have Papa, 44 points for him. 35 for Jones, Big Turbina. It's a very tight championship. Ferrari currently leading at 95 points for the constructor. And we have Haas there with 81. Alfa Romeo is in 3rd. With that, We're just about ready to go racing here as everyone gets into the lobby.
Yeah, I think someone's just disconnected, so I think we need to wait for them to rejoin. But once they do, we will be all right, as we're having a couple people drop out, it would seem. So hopefully it's not a huge issue. Obviously, a new update. Hopefully there's no instability problems that we come across here.
For those that have driven the new update, I can't say I personally have. I'll be getting into some lobbies shortly thereafter this stream myself, and I'm excited to try out Portimao myself as well. But what's it feeling like? Let us know in the chat. Let us know what to expect here in the commentary booth, because neither Unicorn or myself have had an opportunity to see any of the driving, any of the changes, either on board or wheel to wheel, or in any case, whether we're driving or spectating. So we'd like to maybe get a sense of what you in the chat, or maybe if anyone in here is racing, has already come to feel with what's been called, the performance update. So that's always great, interesting information to find. Something else that's interesting is apparently with this performance update, of course, you're going to get that change in handling. Do we see that change of handling today come into play with a dynamic race? That would be absolutely wild, I think, to see here in the MRL tonight. And of course, we have the Americas Tier 2 division later this evening, and I will be joined by Mikau for that. And so that will be a very fun race, I'm sure, as well, as they've been thrilling races throughout the entirety of Season 5, all through MRL, all season long. Last week, we were in, of course, we were in a very iconic area. We were in Spa, and we saw some fantastic racing through Spa. We saw some drama as well. Some great exchanges. We saw some great exchanges in the Saturday Endurance Series as well. But, well, now it's all coming down to MRL for Italy. This is where the points are really starting to come into play. This is now, we are at that third of the way through point. We are now officially, as we will wrap up this Italian Grand Prix, it will be a third of the way through for this Tier 4 division, as there is only 15 rounds in our season. So it's going to be a very exciting time. If you're interested in seeing where we're going next, I'll bring that up for you right now. Next up, we're going to be having a week break. So this coming week following Italy, we will be having a week break, and then we're going to be jumping straight back into a very good racing circuit. It is Suzuka, the Suzuka International Racing Circuit, the Japanese Grand Prix for round 6, and that is going to be a very fun time, to say the least. Then following that, we're going to go to Silverstone, Azerbaijan, Hungary, Singapore, as well as France, Spain, Austria, Mexico, and Brazil for this season. And I'm very excited. We may actually see a switch. I'm going to go ahead and say it. There has been discussion regarding Hungary, so stay tuned regarding Hungary. There may be some news regarding that circuit. We may swap it, as there is some issues with the track limits presently, as far as we've been made aware. So we may be revisiting our visit to Hungary this season. Who knows? We could go to Portimao. That would be interesting to see one of the new circuits thrown right into the rotation, wouldn't it, Unicorn?
Yeah, absolutely. That the new circuit we've all been waiting to see when they've got released, and well, we've got one now. I think it's November when we're getting our second. So hopefully they do come through. They are, functioning circuits. They do work nicely, like you mentioned. There's a bit of an issue with Hungary at the moment, we believe, so it might have to be removed, but from the calendar briefly, and hopefully we'll return there at some point in the future. But for now, it's if there is problems with it, safe to make it. But we always thank you for your patience, everyone. We are now ready to get rolling for action. Obviously, again, apologies for the delay, but we are ready to go. Have a quick
Waiting on the drivers. I think someone else may have just dropped over here on our end. We try to take the time to get everybody in, but
exit Pete seems to have had some sort of disconnect, so hopefully he could get back in before we get everyone readied up. But yeah, hopefully this is not game crashes related to the new update, and this is just people leaving and rejoining for other reasons, but there have been a few disconnects whilst we've just been in the lobby. So fingers crossed, everything works out smoothly. But once he's back in, and I think he's just rejoined, if I'm not mistaken. He is. So there we are. We've got all of the drivers in we're going to have for the evening.
Love to see it. Love to see everyone in now, and we'll get ourselves racing in just a few moments as everyone gets readied up and dialed in. Of course, if you're just tuning in, be sure to share the stream. Be sure to tell your friends. Get it on the TV, maybe even. Who knows? It's a good night of racing here for the MRL. Joining me is Mr. Unicorn all the way from the UK. My name's Striffy. I'm here in the Great White North that we call Canada. And thank you so much for tuning into one of my personal favorite racing circuits. I think that many people can enjoy Monza.
Yeah, especially in the game. Obviously, in real life, it's a little bit trickier to follow a car so closely, but here in the game, plenty of overtaking. Those DRS zones really help out, down the start-finish straight, of course, turn one. So many overtakes into there, and then without DRS, out of the Curva Grande into the Della Roggia chicane, and then, of course, down into Ascari as well. We've seen a couple of mostly just threats of moves, but there has been a couple successful overtakes there in the endurance as we join. It is dry, but it looks a bit overcast, Jeff, here. The roll of the dice maybe not going the way that the drivers want. Hopefully we get a little bit of a weather report in just a moment.
It's a very intense grid lineup here in Tier 4. They've shown us some great races, but I don't think they've had that opportunity to have a huge wet dynamic. And Freeware coming into the chat, giving us the weather report, the weather statement, if you will, and it is going to be called a dry running this evening. So the rain not going to come down and fall on these racers, and I imagine there's a big breath of relief, big sigh of relief coming out of the grid, considering not only do they need to contest with that potential roll of the dice, but they need to contest with that performance update. Grenade Garand, ladies and gentlemen, in the Ferrari-powered Haas this evening. Theoretically, a home race for them in the sense of the power unit, but it is the American constructor, and it'll be Grenade leading them out of the pit lane, Unicorn, as we have 19 drivers on this evening's grid.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll just go through who we've got. We've got Matt up at the top of the time tire right now, then Kene there in second, Undertaker and four-door sedan, then Lars Baza in for IDJ, who I do believe has problems right now with his steering wheel, so he's out at the moment for the Alpha Tauri squad. Then we've got Blind there in seventh, Jones, Alberto Perez, Big Tabina, XTXP, Trixem, Alexander Zhu, another reserve there in for the Aston Martin squad, so we'll see how he does as well. Super Noodle Bagel, Polypunk, Disaster, Grenade Goran, who are on board with, of course, for the first lap. Well, he will be the first lap, but he gets through Ascario right here. And then Kieran and then Papa rounds up the 19 drivers today. And Papa there at the bottom of the side, one of a few drivers who have popped out on the mediums for their first run, it would seem. So looking to just do a little bit of testing on those in the first part of qualifying. Everyone but XTXP out on track as of right now, as the Haas of Grenade Goran comes out of the Curva Alboreto, the newly named final corner here at Monza. As he fires down towards turn one, the Retafilio chicane, turns one and turn two, where obviously yesterday a lot of drama ensued coming out of there in real life. But for Grenade Goran, no drama through there, and no drama as he comes around the Curva Grande, flat out here, down towards the Della Roggia chicane. Turns 4 and 5, taking the curb on the inside, a little bit of curb on the inside of turn 5 as well. That just unsettles the car a little bit, but it hasn't cost him too much time here in the Haas as he comes out through the first of the Lesmos, using all of the curb on the outside. Very nearly invalidated the lap, but just about stayed within the white lines enough to avoid that red track map. Now flying towards the Ascari chicane, turns 8, 9 and 10, and we've seen this catch out a few drivers here through the first two corners. Completely fine is the Haas, and out of the chicane he comes unfazed, and now just one corner to go. Curva Alboreto, formerly known as Parabolica, of course, But as he fires it down towards the final corner, how is he going to fare? And what is the opening lap time going to be for the evening? He's going to hug it to the pit wall here on the right-hand side. It's a 120 flat from the Haas.
Punk firing in a 24.31 in the Ferrari. Who's next across? Lars in the Williams, a 26.82. We have another driver coming through. That is going to be Big Turbina, 21.010. The other Haas of Matt to the line. It is the Haas drivers on the front row provisionally right now. 20.384 for Matt, as Alexander Ju now pushing through in the Aston Martin. Very, very tight to Grenade Grand. 5 milliseconds, the separation between the pair.
Well, there goes Trick Sam, a 120 flat as well, putting himself in that 120 flat bracket at the top of things here. Very, very tight amongst the three of them.
Jones went 6th quickest to 20.592 in the Mercedes. Undertaker on the mediums at 21.842, four-door 21.861, and you have Blind at 30.682. All three of those racers on the mediums. Super Noodle Bagel 21.184. A lot of times on the board here. Only 5 drivers yet to set times in the session. 3 of the times set on those mediums. Everybody else on the softs.
Yeah, and so far there's a little bit of disparity. I wonder whether what we're seeing here is a few people who have got a bit more used to the patch. Maybe they've been able to put in a bit more time over today. That's when the patch came out. No one's had, hundreds of hours into this one. But everyone will get more and more used to it as they practice. As Matt, what's happened here with the big Tabina? Well, it looks like they're coming into the pit lane, so I wonder whether he's just coming a little bit too fast in. Sabina obviously slowing down a bit more into the pit entrance, and Matt's just run into the back of him. It's unfortunate, but obviously very, very avoidable. And I wonder whether Sabina got 1-2. He didn't, so it is just Matt there with the 5-place grid penalty, and well, he won't be too fond of that, but Valtteri Bottas had more than 5-place grid penalty, and he did pretty well yesterday. So it's not over for Matt, who seems to have pretty decent pace as well right now.
The train here in Monza is such a factor. It really is a massive, massive factor. And if you are able to just stay within the train through here in Monza, you're going to be okay. So it doesn't matter really. Risks here need to be taken. Consistency needs to be good. You can't be having problems through Ascari. There's going to be some keys to success here in Monza tonight that we'll find through this race, and I have a feeling we'll find them quick. Lars pushes 4th, 20.108 in the Williams.
Yeah, and he's putting a lot of laps on those softs as well as he runs into his teammate. I don't know what was happening there. It didn't even look like... I was going to say, did that even happen on your screen? I've got the stream up. I didn't even see it.
No, I don't have any traffic for him, really, so I don't know.
Blind, for me, is very slowly rotating in the gravel trap outside of turn 2. And he was across the track horizontally. And Lars just went straight into him on my screen, but he looks fine, so I don't know what that was. But that does not bode well.
No, definitely. Definitely not boding well. Well, fortunately, no penalties have been struck as a result of what Unicorn saw. That would be bad. Very bad. It is looking like Polypunk is going to be the first runner to really send a new lap onto this timing tower here. The Ferrari has set multiple pole positions this season. Let's take a look at what he is able to do tonight.
Yeah, hugging the left as he comes up to start the lap, carrying as much speed out of the corner to just fire it down towards turn 1 here, whereas one is finishing the lap, the hug at the right-hand side. But into turn 1 he comes through the Rettifilio chicane, and so far so good for the Ferrari, and no horizontal cars across that bit of track as well on my screen. So here he comes through the Curva Grande now, obviously the infamous flat right-hander turn 3. A long corner. We'll see side-by-side action through there, hopefully, tonight as he takes all the curb on the inside of 4, and then has a little bit of a problem as he exits the Rogier chicane. He won't be too happy with that, but he's continuing on through the first of the 2 Lesmos and through the second as well. No problems there for the Ferrari. Obviously, Monza, the home of the Scuderia here, the Temple of Speed, so he'll be hoping he can do well at their home race as he now launches himself towards the Ascari chicane. This has caught out so many people this week already, and that was just in the endurance race, but it hasn't caught out Polypunk here on his lap. He's got a 120.431 to beat his current best, but it's a 120.036 if he wants to get back onto the top spot of the timing tower as he comes through out of the Curva Alboreto now, hugging to the right like I mentioned, and it's P6 for him, 2/10 found, but only good enough for 1 place gain. So he knocked Matt down a place, but the Ferrari not quite where we're used to seeing him.
Big Turbina pushing now to the line. Where is he going to land himself? It's good for an improvement of nearly half a second, but it only gets him on the rear of Matt. Grenade Garan was on the move, but he has had to start again as he dropped his previous lap. Now he's going to be flying through on the rear of some traffic coming into turn 1. Alexander Jew pushing to the line, pushing into the pit lane. 20.097 currently his fastest. 5 milliseconds on the rear of Grenade.
Yeah, Trick Time right now, current provisional pole sitter, and he's looking to find a little bit of time as he takes some curbing on the inside of 10. I don't know whether that was deliberate, but it did bump his car a little bit. I don't think it would have cost him too much time, but he hasn't found much time through the first 2 sectors, but this slight improvement would see him drop under the 120 mark and into the 119s. Here he comes, pushing to the line. He is going to finish the lap out. What will it be? It's a 119.945. So there is the first sub 120 time that we've had all evening. And well, the only way he's going to get beaten is if he gets joined by more people. So see whether they can find the extra time. But right now, the McLaren head and shoulders over the rest of the drivers, apart from Papa, a 119.787 for the Ferrari at the home of the Scuderia. That is a very nice result for the man in P4 in the championship right now.
Just checked in with Grenade. He's had some issues that have set him into the pit lane. One driver we have yet to see set a time, Mr. Disaster, currently in the top 3 in our championship. Well, he's going to be wanting to make sure he's in the top 3 here around, well, the Ferrari home race, the Alfa Romeos, of course, and the Ferraris, a great long-standing relationship. And while we talked about third, there's third right there, 19.988.
Yeah, he's having a very good season. He's, been on the podiums so many times, well, 2 times, but it's been, he's been caught up in some unfortunate timing tower issues, etc., and confusion among finishing positions, but he has been consistently very quick in these races, and definitely one of those drivers who you can see being a contender for the championship. There's right now, I'd say 4 standout drivers, maybe 5 if you put in Jones as well, but he's only 30 points down on Grenade, who's leading things by 12 points at the moment. He's just behind Disaster right now, 120.092. But it is very tight and very exciting up at the top right now as we've got Lars pushing out of the final corner. Where does the Williams go? It's going to be P2, a 119.840, 2.5 tenths down for the Williams. Very nice time from him.
Separation right now, first all the way down to 13th position is just less than 7.5 tenths, 0.746 the separation. That's all the way down to Big Turbina in the Red Bull. Things very tight in this grid. Things are going to be very intense when the DRS comes into the equation, especially on that run down into turn 1. Variety of drivers on the run right now. Baza and his teammate just in front of him, Super Noodlebago came in. Baza came out on the flyer, so we've got Baza flying down into Ascari.
And here he comes through out of Ascari, and again, no problems. It hasn't caught out anyone, I don't think, so far this evening. I would not be surprised if that changes, and we've seen it sometimes where in the closing stages when people are trying to push for that fastest lap, that's when they take a little bit more risk, and that's when problems start to arise. But the AlphaTauri is going to come to the line. Remember, he is a reserve. He didn't hug the inside there, Stiff, which is interesting. He might try and go again potentially, but he did find a slight improvement.
Two drivers flying right now. XTXP is one of them. So is Alexander Ju as he comes out through the Curve Alboreto. He is going to hug it tight to the line. Where's he going to land it in the Aston Martin? It's good for third, near 2.5 improvement. And that is a very solid run coming out of Alexander there. We're going to jump back to XTXP in the Alpine. He's coming out of the second Lesmo, pushing through with the DRS wide open on the rear. Excuse me. No DRS wide open on the rear. Maybe that's a visual glitch on my end. I'm hoping it definitely is if he is flying.
I feel like that's something that might be a host issue. I feel like I've had that a few times this season. But we do have a couple of people out on flies. XTXP, he was flying, but he's obviously dropped the lap at some point because it's not going to be his best time of the evening. He doesn't have long. He's coming back into the pits, but this is going to have to be a very, very quick change around to get him onto a fresh set of tires.
Undertaker is pushing in the Alfa Romeo. A 21.842 where he currently sits. And he is going to be wanting to improve on that as he pushes tight to the inside. He doesn't hold it as tight as we've seen, but he is going to improve. A second improvement at that. It's good for 14th position. 20.825.
And it's that moment in time where there's a few drivers out on track pushing, but you know, the top sort of five, we've got Alexander Zhu. He's out on track. I think he's going to be on an in-lap though, because he's already got a lap on his tires. Kane has a little wobble out of the second Lesmos. Nothing too bad to write home about. We'll see whether that's cost him as he crosses the sector split time here, and it has 1.5 tenths down for the McLaren. He'll struggle to find that. Behind him, Ollie Punk, current championship runner-up as it stands, is teammate on provisional pole. We'll see whether he can join him on the front row. The Ferrari currently flying down towards the Curve Alboreto. Bringing it through into the final corner. Very, very nicely done from him so far, hugging that right-hand side as we so frequently see these drivers do on these flying laps. And he does find more time. Again, only good enough for one position. He's been slowly climbing the timing tab, but it looks like 6th will be the highest he gets in today's qualifying session.
It's not a bad run there. Very tight to the 19s, but not into the 19s. That is held by Disaster in that 5th slot.
Okay, just a few drivers creeping under. Here goes Trick Sam. He's the first within that top 5 to start their final run. The McLaren flying it down towards the Rettifilio chicane at the start of the lap. And obviously yesterday, an excellent day for McLaren, of course. And Trick Sam and Kane will be looking to replicate that sort of success here tonight. Right now, 4th and 8th. So not a terrible qualifying. Both cars in the points as it stands. Kane, though, doesn't look like he will be going for another outlap.
I'm just looking on with blind right now, 21.380. It looks like he's on a flyer trying to find some improvement. Ooh. I don't know what happened there between the two Williams, but they weren't talking, that's for sure.
Trick Sam, he's found nearly 2 tenths here. If he could be on for provisional pole. The track right now is obviously at its fastest now that it's rubbered in with the other qualifying runs here, but the McLaren set to take provisional pole away from Papa, who's also on a flyer, as is Lars, as is Disaster. Alexander Zhu, he has actually come out of the pit lane. I don't know whether the Aston Martin will make it to the checkered flag before he needs to, but there goes Trick Sam. It's a 1:19.766. It's not a lot faster than Papa's time, but it is currently the best time we've got. I would not be surprised, though, to see it beaten. I think the next driver who's in that top 5 will be Disaster. He's found a little bit of time, enough to see him maybe into the top 3 as it stands, but The Alfa Romeo needs to find something special in Sector 3 should he want to start on the front row of tonight's grid. Coming through the curve at Alboreto. Where does he find himself on that timing tower? And it's across the lines at 1:19.734. That final sector must have absolutely blown everyone else's out of the water, because he's found the fastest lap there at 1:19.734. 300, sorry, faster than Chicktown. Papa finds himself into P3. He was provisionally on pole for a long time in this session. Doesn't find the improvement here. Lars has invalidated his run, as has Alexander Jew. And I think, Schiff, it just about wraps up qualifying.
Grenade Garan, 9th position right now on an active flyer. He's the only one that can contest anything presently, and can he do it? He's leading this championship. He does not contest the top 5. He improves, but it's nowhere near enough to get him within that 20 or that 2/10th range that is that top 5. It is a very, very intense lineup. A very intense lineup here in this Tier 4 division, I have to say. And that separation from first all the way down to 16th, really 17th position, 1.1. Oh man, Shadrin didn't get an opportunity to come in and set a lap, as he is coming in to drive after all. He's not feeling the best, so the expectations for him, he just wants to get in and bring the car through and home, I think. But it is a very, very, very intense race.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys under that 120 window, not a lot of time between them, and it does look like a close grid. And you mentioned it earlier, Sir, but the ERS trains around here, they can be very, very powerful, and they can be very, very difficult to get out of as well. So I expect, the top 3 disaster. What a time from him to get pole position here. But he, Trixie, and Papa will try and break away, but they will struggle with the likes of Lars, Alexander Jew, Matt, Victor Bina as well. Everyone here so tight on time, and I think this race really could be just have a few long trains. It'll only be split up by fights and by collisions and incidents, etc. But we'll only know how it will unfold by watching it. But if you're just tuning in, welcome. It's the start of a new Misfits Racing League week. We're on round 5 of our 15-round championship here, of course, in Monza, the day after the real life. It's not usually this close, but today it just happens to have worked out in that manner. We just came off of a 100% endurance race on Saturday as well around here, so we know a little bit about what's going on. But it's Disaster on pole, Trixam alongside him in the McLaren, with Papa within half a tenth of them in the Ferrari, and 2 Italian teams up in the top 3. They'll be happy with that around Monza. Then there's Lars in 4th, Alexander in 5th, and then Matt qualified 6th, but he will have a 5-place grid penalty, so there'll be a few happy drivers to inherit a position there on the grid from him. But we'll go through the rest of it in just a moment when we get onto the formation lap.
Very intense qualifying. It was so tight, and this circuit, well, it's the temple of speed, and these guys were showing it in the qualifying session without a doubt. Of course, now all of the drivers getting their setups dialed in, getting those last changes in that they can afford in the Parc Fermé settings. We're going to have our formation lap, and then it's going to be 53 laps of intensity here around, not 53. I'm thinking about Saturday. It's going to be a 27 lap campaign here around Monza, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, let us know who you're rooting for. We have a few drivers absent today due to difficulties and technical issues like DJ and things like this, and you hate when those things come through, but hopefully we get those drivers back as soon as possible. Now, 5 seconds counting down. It's going to be a very, very good formation lap here. We're going to get a sense of the tire strategies. I think softs will be the majority on the grid. That's something that we have seen. Yep, and there we have softs, of course, is a tire that there are a few drivers in that back 10 selecting. You can see there Matt with that grid penalty doesn't have the option to select tires, but he will start there because of the grid penalty, whereas Super Noodlebago, 4-door, Baza all opted to pick those soft compound tires. And then of course you have Disaster all the way down through to Jones, well, to Canet on the softs that they qualified on. Jones getting that tire choice to go for the medium. And that's a very good position to find yourself in if you're Jones. But of course, Unicorn, take us through this lineup.
Yeah, absolutely disaster. Third in the standings. The Alfa Romeo at home in Monza starts on pole position. Trixam alongside him in the McLaren there. Papa also home for the Scuderia here in the Ferrari. He's fourth in the standings, so he'll be looking for a good result here. He starts third alongside Lars in the Williams. Then, first of two reserves here, Alexander Jew for the Aston Martin squad starts with the Victor Bina alongside him in the Red Bull. Then Polypunk, currently runner-up in the championship standing, starts alongside the man who leads the championship, Grenade Goran, in 8th. Then Kane starts in 9th with Jones, rounding out the top 10 on the mediums because he did qualify 11th, but he gets promoted because of the man behind him, Matt. 5-place grid penalty for the Haas driver sees him down into 11th. Behind him is XTXP with the medium compounds as well. Super Noodle Bagel and 4-door sedan start on the soft. Then Alberto Perez, Undertaker, and MVP Kieran start on the mediums from 15th down to 17th. Baza, the second reserve, like you mentioned, reserving in for IDJ today for the Alpha Tauri squad. Then there's Blind in 19th on the mediums. And Shadrin joined late, but he is here for the Red Bull squad on the mediums. And he will start from the back of this grid. But there's a lot of soft, there's a lot of mediums. Strategy will play a big role in today's race. Safety cars as well, we might see them. We'll see what happens there. But everyone now just getting onto the grid, ready for the race start.
Well, here we go. Welcome to Italy. Welcome to Monza. Welcome to what we call the Temple of Speed. It is going to be the 5th round of Season 5, Tier 4 Racing. Joining me is Unicorn. My name's Stryfium, and here we go as the last driver gets to the grid. We are going to have the lights on, and you can see 3, 4, 5 red lights here in Italy. The engines are revving. The lights are out. The desync is in effect. But how's the launch off the line? Welcome to Italy, and we are away racing. Things have gone dark, and it's a good launch for Turbina, but it's an even better launch for Alexander as he's already split through the Ferrari. Does he get Lars? Trixam, very tight with Disaster, going through on the inside. Things are deep for the McLaren. Does this expose the entirety of the grid? Well, it's definitely exposed Lars. He's under immediate threat. Turbina's taken him as the Aston Martin pushes fronts to rears, coming through the Curva Grande. What a race start it's been. And Alexander Jew and Lars are wheel-to-wheel coming into Della Roggia chicane right now. Who is going to give way? Neither driver is going to really give an inch here, but it is going to be Alexander Jew pushing through into 4th position as Papa hunts down Grenade coming through the first Lesmo.
Yeah, very, very tight action here at the start of things. There's been an incident further back with Shadrin. That's a blind. There's a front wing missing from one of those cars, but that was some weird things going on as they launched away. But up at the front, it is tight, but the fighting is sort of separated out already. Disaster's lost position on Trixam, and Trixam already starting to pull out a humongous gap here, and has already, almost broken that 1 second window, and that's so important around here. There he goes. He
Grenade.
does sneak over that 1
Hold
second
the phone.
window.
Grenade and Lars here, wheel-to-wheel through the Curve Alboreto here as Grenade pushing around the outside, looking for the Williams. It's wheel-to-wheel right now. Lars, fronts to rears for Grenade. Grenade pushing through with as much as he can, using the slip on Alexander. He's taken Lars. Papa's in the equation in the Ferrari. Grenade's looking for the inside, coming down into the Red Ophelia chicane as now Alexander has been taken for 4th position by Grenade. Lars is under threat now. Papa on the inside in the Ferrari. It's the home Grand Prix for the Scuderia, and they are not taking prisoners.
Yeah, they're struggling at the moment, but Papa is going to look to regain at least one of the positions here down into the Della Roggia chicane. Isn't going to find it, though, as they find themselves in 7 and 8. They started a fair bit higher than this. Papa's down 4 places. His race start really wasn't good, but for Grenade Goran and the Big Tabina, very, very nicely done from those two. They found a lot of places, and there really hasn't been any huge shuffles, but there's one as Papa is spinning around, and he's got no front wing on that Ferrari coming out of the second Lesmo. MVP Kieran is side by side with Alberto Perez, and that almost ended pretty badly for the Mercedes, but he does find his way past the Ferrari, doesn't find his way past the Aston Martin though.
Right now, Matt looking for a move. He started this race a little bit further back than where he qualified due to the grid penalty, but he's charging down 4-door and he's charging down XTXP. but there just isn't enough room for him to try and flip through on that inside because, of course, Four-Door still has it parked. He's battling right now between two Alpines, and they aren't going to give an inch. Look at this action right now. It's just bumper to bumper between this trio.
Yeah, you love to see this sort of close racing that you do get. Matt X6B still going at it as he holds on coming out of first few corners. And while the other Alpine of Four-Door Sedan on these stretch stops has a look around the outside of the Curva Grande, hasn't quite got the speed to get around his teammate here, Trixam. Well, it's the timing to our problem. There is not a close gap to Blind. He's in pretty much in the last place, but he's way down at the bottom as he's overtaking people in the pit lane.
That was a major move for Trixam to get that done early on Disaster. Now he's nearly at that 1 second range, just dancing in and around the DRS detection for Disaster here. And that's absolutely critical. And something else that's critical is this gap that has built between the third position runner, and that's Big Turbina being hunted down by Grenade as XTXP and Four-Door exchange. There's a bit of a gap that built very, very quickly to Matt, given the fact that he is on those soft compound tires, XTXP on the mediums. Grenade right now with the DRS is going to try and hunt down Mr. Big Turbina here. You can see Alexander. He's right there as well, but the speed just so much for the Haas right now, charging through down on the inside. Surely this is an easy move, but Alexander now a little bit later on the brakes for Big Turbina as he's under pressure from Alexander. Grenade trying to hold everything. Big Turbina does hold third position, and I don't know how he managed to do it, but he has, and he will continue to do so as we roll through Curva Grande right now. Polypunk is right on the rear of all of this, looking for the Williams as well. Grenade has not dispatched the Red Bull, and Big Turbina is putting that rolling roadblock to very good use. My oh my, 2.6 the gap to second right now.
He's a little bit lucky there that he didn't get damaged. He did tap the rear of Grenade going into turn one. Doesn't seem like there's any visible damage on the front of that Red Bull, but it was close. And I think, well, I'm not sure whether that unsettled Grenade is. He might have a look up the inside of the engines of Ascari. He doesn't, but he's not happy that he's behind this Red Bull here. He wants to be unleashed. He wants to go chase down the podium positions here, but right now not being allowed to. Well, as the timing tower once again resettles itself here for the umpteenth time, but as they come through the curve at Alboreto to get onto lap 5 of the race, Grenade again a huge run for the Haas driver, and the Big Turbina is just a sitting duck. The thing is here, as Alexander Zhu is going to come through as well. The Big Turbina late on the brakes on the inside of turn 1, but the Aston Martin putting his nose in and he holds on to the 4th place that he claimed. A bad exit though. This could see him lose this through the Curva Grande and into the Della Roggia chicane, of course. Alexander June just putting on a defense. Big Turbina putting a tire in the grass and then almost running into the rear of the Aston Martin as well. And that's brought Lars right into the fight here as they exit out of the Della Roggia chicane. He's got a Ferrari right on his gearbox in the form of Polypunk. And Kenne's not too far back either. Lars, again, having a look on the inside of the second Lesbos. Does he get the exit here? He had a great entrance, but doesn't quite have the speed to fight his way past the Red Bull, who is dropping here. He is losing time. Alexander, he does have DRS here.
Oh my God! What a move! Oh, what a move coming out of Lars there. And that took guts. That took guts. Holy. That was crazy.
Looking at the Red Bull. Does he find a way through here? It looks like it's going to be a pretty clear-cut move here. Lars is going to defend the outside from the Big Turbina, though. And as such, the Red Bull finds his way through, as does the Ferrari. Kane is looking on the rear of this as the Red Bull completely overshoots turn 2. Really late on the brakes in turn 1. Having to slow down a little bit as well, and he's going to concede to Polypunk, sorry. Ahead, there was almost an exchange for 3rd place. Grenade hasn't found a way past Alexander, who does have some sort of penalty, and it's 3 seconds, presumably for track limits warnings, but he's still holding on to 3rd as Lars. Well, he's off the track in the Williams and gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting down at the Della Roggia chicane.
Yeah, he really went there and he just dropped it. He didn't even make an attempt to go through the turn, I don't think, because all I saw in that backdrop was the Williams kind of just fly through the off run and take that exit road. This has been a very intense race, and I have been thrilled with some of the absolutely extreme overtakes. And I have to say that one that we did see from Lars was phenomenal through Ascari, but unfortunately coming into that De La Roggia, he had an issue, and now we're seeing him in 8th position and with that 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, there's some sort of problem with Blind's car at the moment. I'm not quite sure what's happened there with him, but it's coming up on my time tower at least as being in 1st place and then hopping back down. He does seem to be obeying back marker rules though. I'm not quite sure what's happening with the Williams. There's a yellow flag.
Ooh,
it looks like
there's been a huge issue.
Victim.
That was a big
Sorry.
issue for me. I just saw Super Noodle spin. There was so much there I can't even digest, but Big Turbina and Kane right now, there's been contact between these two, and now there goes Lars into him, and Matt's trying to get through.
Well, as everyone pushes on, it's still the same leaders. There's also, is there a problem here for Blind? Papa's out of the race. He's got it in the pit lane, and I think Blind isn't actually falling. I think he was in last anyway. The timings are really not working for that Williams for some reason. Does seem to be a bit off here as there's a lot of action coming out of this. Scary, Lars and Kane side by side, and then you've got Matt making it 3 wide here as they come down towards the curve at Alboreto. They've got cars behind as well. I'm surprised there wasn't contact out of the sky. There is contact into the final corner. Kane manages to get back on track. There's a huge runoff there, and he didn't lose all the traction in the world. Lars brakes, cuts the pit lane entrance massively here as Matt and Fordor will exchange. Fordor snapping up P7 here, taking advantage. Does Jones find anything? No, he will be too far back. Oof. My oh my, that was very, very intense there between the few drivers that were involved.
Yeah, I got a call from the stewards there. They just said, keep the camera rolling. Copy, pronto. That's it.
Kieran's had a problem. He's off in the cover outside of turn 2.
What a phenomenal race this has been. Presenting a little bit of drama. I think we can call that a little bit of drama, a little bit of intensity. What do you guys think of the chat there? Of course, we have some seriously crazy racing going on right now. Let's take your action to Mr. Matt here. He's going for it. He's going to take 4-door sedan with ease coming into Ascari. Very easy move there for him.
And so I don't think he'll be long until we start to see the medium start to come alive. You mentioned Fordor Sedan here as he's looking at Matt, but they've got Jones behind them. He's sort of broken away from the rest of the medium runners as Disaster and Trick Sam, they exchange. So the man who started this race on pole is back into things. There's a bit of contact between the two. Disaster and oh my goodness, Alexander has gone straight into the Alfa Romeo. He loses out here and he will not be happy as there was a big time penalty, I think, going on.
That was a 10 that went onto the McLaren there as he went through the off-road. But I don't know if that was compounded as a result of what happened with Disaster, because the way I'm not going to be the steward of this, but I'll just say from our camera here in the commentary booth, it looked like that front wing of the McLaren made contact with the rear end of the Alfa Romeo coming through braking.
Yeah, and he certainly gained time as a result of the corner cut, and I think that's sort of why the penalty's been applied there by the game, and obviously, well, our stewards might have a word with him after the race as well. Big Tabina on the inside of Alexander June down into the Sky game. Very nice move there from the Red Bull driver.
Very fortunate for Disaster that he was able to retain second position, albeit, you know, he was in first when that altercation occurred, but better than dropping like a stone. Trick Sam right now pulling off to the inside and letting him through, and Maybe he knows, maybe he doesn't, I don't know, but that's good sportsmanship. But Grenade doesn't give a damn because he's looking for it all the way through on both of these drivers in turn 1. He's looking for Trick Sam. Trick Sam said, I meant for 1 to go 3, not 2. And look at Grenade taking advantage here.
You can't blame him. He is fully entitled to go through there, and now he looks, poised to mount an attack on Disaster, but Disaster now he'll be feeling a bit more calm. Obviously, when you get into these incidents, it can get a bit heated inside the driver's head, but now that he's out of that position, gifted back to him by Trick Sam, he'll be, very thankful for that, you would imagine. As the 4 of them now, because Polypunk's on the rear of this as well. It's now a 4-way fight for the lead, but you can kind of eliminate Trick Sam given the 10-second time penalty.
Well, as soon as he comes in, that's going to be 5 right there and then that he serves, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think he will, because it's one singular penalty.
They don't let. Okay, I wasn't sure actually.
That.
Now that we bring it up, you can't serve the 10. Bido's saying you can't. That's news to me. I don't usually. I don't take 10s. We don't see the 10s come through often. That's what I'll say right there. Grenade takes a 5 though, and that won't be served this time around. Disaster has now been undercut essentially by the entirety of the soft running.
Yeah, I think he'll be all right though, given the penalty situation, and that might help him towards the end of the race. Obviously, that implies that he won't get any, and obviously that is very, very possible. We've still got plenty of time left in this race, as a few pit stops start to appear here and there, and it depends where they get thrown out in terms of traffic as well, because they might not get the push lap that they need. As MVP Kieran and Grenade go very, very close. As Bazza, he's crashed Drift, and there's a safety car, and well, that will help Disaster.
And you can see where it is. We're gonna maybe see it with Disaster. That is outside of Ascari. And considering what we've seen in the endurance race, are you shocked? Because I'm not.
I said it. I expect this to at least take a couple of cars tonight, and there is, oh, well, our first retirement from there. There have been a couple of issues through there in the race, but this is great news for Disaster. If you look at Grenade Goran, he's got that 5-second penalty. He hasn't made it to Ascari yet, and Disaster's on his way into the pit lane now. This could not have happened at a better time for the Scotsman.
I think this might be the only time we've seen in recent races that a safety car has benefited Disaster to this degree.
But you could argue Zandvoort helped him out pretty nicely. It had that monster stint on the mediums, but he gets onto some fresh mediums now. XTXP will go through. He is not on his way into the pits, but you can tell why. Ford Sedan, his teammate, has just hopped in, but Disaster will rejoin in 2nd place. And where is Grenade? He will be in 3rd. And Tricksam will follow through as well, but Disaster will retain leader things and has 1 lap fresher tires. Well, you say half a lap because the other drivers, they haven't had to do a full push lap on those fresh tires. So for Daz, that worked out very, very nicely there, and it ruins everyone else's plans of an undercut on the leader. So Disaster, very, very lucky moment there, but be happy that it's happened. And well, some of it's luck, but you've got to have enough skill to convert these most fortunate moments into the right results, and we'll see what Disaster can do. That win so far has evaded him. Everyone around him in the championship has got one under their belt. He's got 2 podiums. He just hasn't come across the line first. It was very, very close, especially in Zandvoort. But we'll see if he can pull it off tonight. XTXP and leader things, of course, but he is yet to pit. He'll go to soft at the end of things.
Yeah, he avoided that double stack. Let's see if I wonder if he just stays out and says, I'm going to try and stretch these. Maybe he thinks we could see another safety car. Papa now leaving the session after his unfortunate crash.
Yeah, and it looks like the safety car will be going on again, and you Can't be surprised given that there's still a
Well,
few cars.
XTXP hasn't come in, and he had an opportunity to pit here and maybe not have an issue to drop behind Kieran and Bagel, but he is going to stay out, so...
I think he doesn't
Oh, it
think
was
the
Baza
going to
that,
go to the end.
it was
from
Baza
here.
that crashed, not Papa.
I don't think XTXP thinks the softs can go to the end comfortably from here, and I think I'm with him in that sense. I think you probably could stretch the tires, but you do risk a puncture at the end, and you know, safety cars breed safety cars. So we've said that plenty of times before.
Yeah.
One of your favorite phrases, and well, if that happens in 3 laps time, I think you're in a much better position to pit for soft then. So, and you know, there could be a crash behind. It might not cause a safety car, but it could cause a break in the train, and that would of course allow him a bit of an opportunity to pit as well. So I don't think it's necessarily the wrong call coming in. I think either would have worked for him. It's just a case of, you know, either one is a gamble. He would have lost a lot of positions here had he pitted for softs now, but at the same time he would have been a faster tire than everyone else. But we'll see what happens, and if there is another safety car, then he'll be in a really, really nice position.
Well, surely we're going to be coming in at the end of lap 13 here, more than likely green flag racing for lap 14. And then we'll just have to see how we go from there, because there's a very good shuffle of strategy and different compounds right now.
And I expect the safety car to get called in. It got called in very late at one point during the endurance race.
Yeah, I remember that second restart. We saw it really late.
And we are all bunched up, ready for one, and well, there it is. Halfway through the last corner, it gets called in, and XCXP's told that he becomes the de facto safety car before the end of things. The safety car hasn't actually entered the pit lane yet, so that was a little early from him. But it has gone green, and we are back to racing here at Monza. Trick Sam's had a pretty good restart. Can he find a way past Grenade? I think he's going to be too far back to into turn 1. And he is. Matt on the big turbina looking around the outside of 1. Does he find anything? No, he doesn't, but he got very, very close. And so far, nothing really happening as Kane is looking around the outside of Lars coming out of the first chicane. And you've got Kieran behind on the soft as well. They're looking to go 3 wide down into the De La Roche chicane. Kane's through, and then Kieran's going to try and follow him as Grenade and Disaster are exchanging.
Yeah.
And this is unbelievable. Disaster holds on to P2 for now, but he is feeling some real pressure.
Polypunk had an issue. Polypunk's had a big issue. He got tangled there. I don't know if it was Trick Sam or if it was Big Turbina, but he got tangled in a very, very interesting exchange through that first Lesmo, and he's dropped a couple of positions here. Matt on the rear of Big Turbina, of course, hunting. You've got a ton of drivers pushing as much pace as they can out of these fresh rubber tires, and of course you've got the hards. Alberto Perez, he's suffering a little bit here. Grenade pushing back on Disaster. Very, very, very tight racing here. And of course, Disaster, he started this race in pole position. He wants to get a race win right now, but Grenade putting himself between Disaster and lead of this race, given the XTXP is in charge. But you, of course, know XTXP still has to come in. So that's critical in his race. And you've got Matt just firing up that rearview mirror with that front wing of his for Big Turbina. What the heck's happened? I heard a big shunt. There's 2 cars.
Huge crash.
Oh my. Someone just went through. That's Lars in. Oh, Lars just went into the wall.
Kieran and Polypunk came off. But oh my goodness. Blind and Lars come together again. I think that is again desync on my end though. But I'm not quite sure what's happening there, as I don't even know what's desync and what was the real about that incident, but there was at least 3 cars involved.
Well, at the very least, something that's very real right now is this hunt for the lead of the race right now, as well as Jones hunting down Kane. We're going to jump there wheel to wheel as we come through into Ascari. How are things going to go at the exit? Kane dropping to Jones in the Mercedes. The hards are not the best tire, especially in defense against the much fresher mediums. That is a fact. And of course, well, Blind sitting in 12th position there, hunting down Alberto Perez on exit of Ascari right now. Do we see him fish it through the inside of the Curve Alboreto? No, we do not. Disaster on the rear of Grenade. DRS is enabled. However, none of the drivers having it just yet. Shadrin looking for Super Noodle Bagel. Wheel to wheel right now, and that's 13th for the Red Bull that started at the back of this grid. Very nice for him.
Yeah, one thing I'll mention, obviously you said there's no DRS yet, but obviously ERS always available. Disaster has a lot more than Grenade, so I think that's how Grenade was able to get through. He pushed in that early part of that safety car restart to get through, and he's done quite well here to get away, but he's being held up behind, I think it's in the pit lane.
It is in the pit lane. Lars is coming in as well, and I think he might even be doing the same thing. What happened? Well, he's got damage. He might just get that switched over.
Yeah, they were both involved in that turn 1 collision with whatever happened there. I'm sure Stewart's will take a look, but yeah, Disaster here looks like he's playing the long game. Grenade, though, well, he's playing the I'm going to overtake the lead of the race into a Scary game and gets that done very, very nicely in the Haas. Disaster now has a car in between him and Grenade. XTXP gets squirrely on the Scary, though, and this has to be the move.
I just saw Shadrin. I don't know what I saw from the Red Bull there, if that was desync, but there was definitely a big issue there. Blind, struggling on the exit.
Yeah, Disaster now dropping so much time to Grenade as he gets stuck behind XTXP. He is going to go for the move on the Alpine now down the start finish straight. And you got to say this looks like it's done and dusted later on the brakes as well for the Alfa Romeo. But he's had to use some of his battery. He's at 70% now. Grenade at 40 though, so Disaster still in the advantage, but he has to push to make sure he stays within 1 second. Grenade is burning everything he's got in the tank here, and Disaster, well, he's losing out just a little bit of time, and he needs to make sure he gets that
Undertaker, Big Turbina hold the phone through the De La Rogia chicane. Big Turbina fighting to hold 6th position right now. Undertaker, you talk about Disaster, well, his teammate looking to muscle his way through this grid right now. He's made up 9 positions. Undertaker is charging through the field.
And Disaster didn't get it. Disaster did not get DRS for lead of the race. Tricksam does have DRS, and well, we're going to see another move into the inside of the Ascari chicane. I am amazed that McLaren did not spin round. XTXP took the corner. Tricksam was there, not very alongside, but he was just slightly well to the Alpine. It nearly caused the McLaren to spin around. Amazing bit of driving to avoid that spin as Disaster once again finds himself without DRS here. As Grenade Gorin sets fastest lap of the race. And he has almost emptied his tank. In fact, he has. He's at 3% right now as it recharges a little bit. But Tricksam gets past XCXP and the Alpine is falling back a bit, but he'll be on softest. Grenade's crashed!
Grenade. Yeah, I just saw him drop through the timing tower. Now he's dropping very, very hard through this timing tower. No visible damage, but I'm assuming he has some Kane on the rear. Well, Disaster is going to be thrilled about that disaster for Grenade, no doubt. And now Matt looking at XTXP, tight on, of course, XTXP using those very old, his starting medium compound tires here. Kane and Grenade, well, Kane's looking at the cars coming through, and he almost, oh no, I don't know what to say about that for the McLaren. He just took 5 for a severe collision, and I think I'm gonna just say that may just be warranted there.
There goes Matt on XTXP, and is Undertaker going to follow him through into a Scary? No, he's not, as XTXP gets very squirrely. And oh my god, what an opportunistic move by not only Undertaker, but Big Sabina as well. And now XTXP's teammate, Fordos Sedan, is going to steam through. But I think it's time to get off of those mediums and
no doubt
get onto some softs here. I would not be surprised if he takes the advantage or takes the opportunity this lap. He will drop down massively, but that was always the gamble. He hasn't had the safety car he needed, and he is going to come into the pit lane. So that's a bit of a hit to the strategy for XTXP, but it's always a gamble if you're trying to plan a safety car into what you want to do, because you can't bet on one ever coming out, as the timing tower again has another problem. But we do know Disaster leads by 2 seconds on Tricksam, and Tricksam's in a sort of world of his own, as Matt and Undertaker and Big Sabina will fight for what is the final podium position here.
Ollipunk's had a big issue. He's missing some front wing. He's now in 13th position.
Alexander Zhu, he picked up a 3-second time penalty. to go against his end result here as the timing tower starts to fix itself. Disaster back and established into P1. As things start to calm down a little bit, we've got 8 laps or so left. There's Big Turbina. That's a harsh penalty to take. He just clipped a little bit too much of the curb and the entrance of Ascari there, but track limits are the same for everyone, and he'll be kicking himself for that one because that could cost him anything things quite drastically, maybe even a podium here. One thing as well, Undertaker right now running in 4th. It will be, possible that he finds himself ahead of Matt at the end, and you've got to remember there's 10 seconds to add to the end of the race for Trick Sam.
Here's Undertaker. Undertaker, Matt right now, wheel to wheel as we come through the first and second turns. Matt holding on the inside, and it's going to be Undertaker on the softs, looking for good traction. He has a bit of a snap right now. We come through on the Curva Grande, and look at this. The power, the traction, it's all in it there for the Alfa Romeo, and he will push through on the inside of the Curva Grande. Now does Matt have an opportunity to send it back through into the Della Roggia? He is not going to tempt fate just yet, but he's been tapped in the rear by somebody. I don't even know who hit him, but he is looking the other way now, and we're on board with him as it happened. That is just not the position you want to be finding yourself in. Alberto Perez says, and well, he flies and waves bye-bye. Matt, no damage, but that is such a terrible position to find yourself in.
Yeah, I'm going to assume as it was the car behind it was the Red Bull of Big Turbina who's tapped him there, and very, very unfortunate, but none of the cars that are fighting out there, Big Turbina, Ford or Jones appeared to have front wing damage, so no evidence of an impact with another car like that, but they're all in this train for this little bit of point, and this gives a bit of breathing room to Undertaker, and he might need to go back to my original point. I don't know whether those softs will make it to the end of this race.
Jones. Inside for Jones, DRS right now, but they're both on the rear of Turbina. Here goes Jones. Here goes four-door. Ooh, I don't know if there was contact there, if it was just a snap of the brake coming out of Turbina. As everybody gets things broken down for turn 1, you can see Jones and four-door. Jones is into 5th now. Shadreen from the rear of this grid really pushing into the points.
Yeah, doing, very, very well considering, very late to call into the Red Bull. Obviously, he is a full-time driver, but I don't think he was planning, like you said, he was feeling a bit under the weather earlier, but,
Oh!
Well, that's a commentator's curse if ever. I think we're both guilty of that, Shift, as he slides off through the second Lesmos. As Disaster picks up a 3-second time penalty. He won't be thrilled with that, but right now it won't cost him anything. He needs to keep himself, in check to make sure he doesn't lose any unnecessary positions. As Jones has had a problem with him, he's dropping, and potentially this is an issue coming out of Ascari, as ahead of him, Grenade Goran looked up the inside of the Curva Alboreto, and it didn't look like it was going to happen, but Fordor, well, he opened the door wider than I've ever seen it, and he is just going to sweep through on the inside there of the Alpine. You don't have to ask him twice, as he will get DRS as well to help him defend here from the Alpine. He's just overtaken, and he will try and get Alexander Ju as well, who breaks very, very late and miraculously makes the corner as well, but that might have compromised his exit here out of turn 2, and then Aston Martin and Grenade Goran definitely catching here. Penalties to his name. He's got 5 seconds. Alexander has 6 though. So there's going to be a bit of a shuffle at the end of this in terms of penalties, and the drivers need to bear that in mind, specifically those who don't have them, as Shadrin and XTXB having an exchange, and there's a bit sideways, and XTXB really struggling to get that car in control coming out of the second corner.
Jones all over four-door sedan right now. And I'm wondering if we're going to see the overtake here, and I think we will. Four-door showing a little bit more pace right now. Not a lot of battery utilization, no battery utilization for Jones, really. Not using that overtake.
Again, we saw this on Saturday, where at this stage in the race, really not a lot of time left. There are the best overtaking spots around the circuit. You can overtake here, very frequently, but there are overtaking spots that are better than others. As such, you want to reserve your ERS until the last couple of laps, so that the person you're overtaking doesn't have an opportunity to come back. Here goes Grenade Goran. He's not waiting to the last laps. He is going to come past Alexander Dew right now, and the Haas sneaks past into 6th place. And he needs all the points he can get right now because, well, Disaster is going to close in on him in the championship run. Polypunk, of course, is not because he's outside the points right now in the Ferrari.
There's a bit of a connection issue happening between XTXP and Shadrin here, and it keeps causing them problems. At the very least, that's what it's looking like on our view here.
Mentioning the Ferrari, he does score fastest lap right now. It won't be a point for him, but he'll take the point out of the top 10's grasp, and it's not going to hurt Ferrari because their other car, Papa, is out, and a really, really bad result for the Scuderia at home. But the Alfa Romeo squad, well, they're on for a potential double podium here. They just need to keep it going for the last 4 laps here. And, well, Undertaker needs to get his tyres to the end as well. This is where we saw starting softs start to pit off of their tyres. And if we're going to see an issue with the softs, well, Shadrin might have it as well. He's on 11 lap old soft right now as Undertaker crosses to make his that age 2. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a puncture or 2 at the end of this one for those guys on those softs. As Alexander Dew very, very slow out of the second corner and dropping back there to Grenade a reasonable amount. And, well, he's got a couple of cars on his gearbox that he won't want to give it any more of an excuse to overtake him in these last few laps.
Yeah, definitely having to hold things well with 4-door on his rear like that. Big Turbina with Grenade just sitting in his rearview mirror less than half a second, and I think that Grenade has enough here to push it. See the carry, a DRS, not a lot of battery at his fingertips right now. He's not using and burning too much, but man, is he ever closing up on Big Turbina. He's showing so much pace through that Ascari, and you can just see the exit here. No DRS needed, just the slipstream, not a ton of battery. Right behind.
It's gonna be very, very close.
Jones is about to look at 4-door. You can see Grenade with this carry of speed. Not a lot Big Turbina is going to be able to do about this, and I think it's going to be 4th position for Grenade now. They're pushing through. Big Turbina getting back into the slip there.
Yeah, and they do get that position done. However, right now, as it stands, Big Turbina would regain that place on penalties. So Grenade needs to try and find a 2-second gap there because he's got 5. Big Turbina has 3. So there is potential there for the Red Bull to get the position back after the race, but he'll want to do it on track, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's always that on track that you want to be ensuring as well.
As the lead grows for Disaster, he knows that Trixam has a 10-second penalty. Trixam knows that he's got a 10-second penalty, so they're both just sort of playing it, coolly here. And if Undertaker's tyres go the distance, it could even be an Alfa Romeo 1-2 shift, but they are going to be very old when we get to the end of this. But right now, Shadrin making it look possible for him as Polypunk dropped another position here. The Ferrari not having a good day at all. And at Monza, that's not where you want to be having it if you're in one of the prancing horses.
Big Turbina under immediate threat here coming out of the Curve Alboreto as Alexander Zhu will now engage the DRS and fly very clearly ahead of Big Turbina. Big Turbina in the rear of that Aston Martin now in the slip, will not have an answer to this, and it's been 2 position losses for him in 2 laps as he's lost both into turn 1.
Yeah, 1.5 laps to go now. Really not a lot of time with how things, they're proceeding. The problem on my time tower is still existing, but luckily it's not plaguing your screens, just so the time tower should be accurate on stream end at the very least.
Yeah, everything looking all right for me at the moment. Grenade in 4th position, Alexander Zhu, Big Turbina, PW Jones, all on a little bit of a train here for this 4th position. Penalties in play, and Jones is looking to inherit a whole whack of positions given he does not have a penalty, and 4-door is right there with him. Disaster, 3 seconds for him, but given where Trick Sam lands with that penalty, Disaster looking good. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on the final lap of the race. It is 27 of 27. Disaster leading things 4.2 seconds ahead of Trick Sam, is flying out into the Curva Grande with Trick Sam flowing through behind him. It is the Alfa Romeos currently 1 and 3, and what a drive it's been for Undertaker, making up a massive amount of position, 13 positions gained for him. And well, let's jump on to the battling for 4th position, as we have a little bit of that going on right now. You have Grenade in 4th. He has penalties. He's got 5 seconds. Alexander Zhu with 6. Big Turbina with 3. And PW Jones there in 7th in this train with no penalties to his name. Where will the Mercedes land? It's a massive question. What is the shuffle going to look like? I don't know. But it has been a thrilling race here as we come out of the second Lesmo now. And that 10-second penalty going to hurt Trick Sam very, very much to really shake up the podium. But I think Disaster's got it locked in.
Yeah, absolutely, and it could be the 1-2 we were mentioning for Alfa Romeo here at home. Unfortunately, their special livery for the Monza race isn't in the race. But finally, the Scotsman will find the top step. It's been a long time coming for him, but finally, Disaster, his 3rd podium of the season, finds himself on the top step. Trick Sam crosses 2nd, but that 10-second time penalty will promote the 2nd Alfa Romeo to P2, and Jones will join the 2 Alfa Romeos on the podium in the Mercedes. So an excellent drive from him. Big Turbina slots home in 4th. 4-door Sedan in 5th after penalties with Grenade. And look at the gaps there, Strift, on the time trial. They're so close. And then Trick Sam, he crossed 2nd. He finishes 7th for that corner cut earlier on where he tapped the rear of Daz, sent the Alfa Romeo around and gained a huge host of time from cutting turn 2. Alexander Zhu reserving for the Aston Martins, finishes 8th. Matt finishes 9th, and Extic P finishes in 10th, rounding out the points scoring positions. Alberto Perez 11th, Blind 12th, Shadowin 13th, Super Noodle in 14th, Kanei finished 15th, Polypunk championship runner-up at the moment, 16th position.
Yeah, it's been
a
serious, I think, wake-up call there for him in this race. You know, he's taken multiple pole positions, but this one not going the way of the Ferrari. And so the Alfa Romeos today, 1 and 2. 1 and 2 coming off of, well, what we saw yesterday, a McLaren 1 and 2. So a great race, a great race for these Alfa Romeos, and who could forget Jones? What a finish. He did it consistently. He did it without penalty, and he did it to get himself into 3rd position. And he did it with a great drive. He did it with a superlative drive, and I think all these guys are going to be thrilled about this. We've got Disaster, the Scotsman, Undertaker, and of course Jones there. Look at the position changes. Of course, that fastest lap was Lars in the end of 20.9, but that will not be awarded as you need to finish in the top 10 to see that point come through. But it was just a thrilling race. We're going to have interviews with our top 3 here hopefully in just a few moments time, and then of course a raid as usual. But man, oh man, that was an awesome campaign, an awesome race. We saw so much fighting. We saw some really big risk taking as well. Very big moves. That one that sticks to mind was the one from Lars on Big Turbina through Ascari. That was a very good move there as we just get ourselves ready for some interviews. Man, oh man. Let's see here who we can jump in with. We'll have them come through in a second. Back.
Yeah, very exciting campaign there for the drivers, and well, some huge position gains. Obviously, not all of them on track. The penalty situation really, throwing things around a bit, but the podium, well, Disaster converted his pole position to the race win. Like I said, it's been eluding him the whole season. Here in round 5, though, he does find it. But then his teammate, 16th to 2nd, and for Undertaker, that was obviously he gained a position because of penalties, but really the strategy going on to those softs really helped him out. He took them a long way. I wasn't sure whether they make it to the end, but it worked out for him. And I think the other drivers from the other divisions will be looking on to this and thinking, well, maybe I can take advantage of this. And Jones as well, 10th to 3rd. Some huge position gains, but I do believe we will get interviews with all 3 of the drivers who we had on the podium, which is always brilliant to see. We always appreciate them taking the time out to interview, and we're just waiting for Strifium to get sorted with the interviews, and then we will hear from them, and I think they'll have a lot to say after such an entertaining and engaging race for us, the viewers, and we hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, but I think we're just about ready.
Sorry about that. I just had to take a second away there, ladies and gentlemen. We are now joined by Mr. Jones. My, oh my, what a race for you, sir. The Mercedes reigns into the podium right at the end. How are you feeling after that? That was a great race. And did you know that you'd find yourself in 3rd when you finished?
No, that was great. I was not expecting that whatsoever. I think I was about 6th, 7th, or 8th when I crossed the line. So to end up in P3, pretty good. I just hope that some of the other drivers don't get penalties removed and bump me down like Netherlands. But yeah, I really enjoyed that race.
Yeah, it was a thrilling campaign. You made up a number of positions in this one. We had the safety car as well. We had a couple of drivers struggle through Ascari. How are you feeling today? A new patch, a little bit of a change in the handling from what we've heard. How are things feeling for you today, Jones?
Yeah, I think the new patch has definitely made it a bit more unstable, especially accelerating out of corners. So I used the same setup that I was going to use, but I just upped the rear wing by 1 and just thought I'll give it a go. Made it a bit more stable. I nearly lost it a couple of times through the corners. So yeah, the new patch definitely makes it a little more interesting. But luckily I didn't spin on this occasion, so I'm happy with that.
Well, now we are here at the end of round 5. We're taking a week off, and then it's going to be back in 2 weeks' time for round 6 in Suzuka. Suzuka, a circuit that some people love, some people hate. How are you feeling about it, and how does this finish really set you up for round 6?
I quite like Japan as long as I can find a nice stable setup. Suzuka's a nice flowing circuit. If you take the corners as well as you can, keep the speed up. I quite like it. So I've got 2 weeks to obviously work on the setup, have a bit of practice, and hopefully I can get another good result in Suzuka in 2 weeks' time.
Okay, well, sounds good, Jones. Any words for the viewers before we move on to talk to the Alfa Romeos tonight?
Yeah, I mean, all the viewers, I see them in chat here cheering me on, so thanks very much for that. There's loads of you. And as well, the Mercedes guys helping with the setups and being really encouraging. It's been a great experience so far.
Well,
thank you all.
Great to hear it, and thank you, Jones, and again, congratulations on the P3. We'll hope to talk to you again in Suzuka, if not again this season with another podium finish.
Right. Thank you. See you then.
See you then. That was Jones, everyone. Big round of applause and a big shout out to Jones for his P3 after that one. We are now going to be jumping on with one of 2 Alfa Romeos. It is one half of the squad. It is Mr. Undertaker. How are you feeling? 2nd position. You got it done from, well, you've gained 14 positions in this race. How did you feel?
First of all, thank you, everyone. Hello, and I mean, I feel incredible. I don't think it could have gone any better. Definitely the softs was a huge risk. I wasn't sure if they're gonna make it to the end, but it turned out that the other guys had huge penalties. I managed to keep it clean, so yeah, it was a big surprise, to tell you the truth.
Well, it was a thrilling race to see you come through in the Alfa Romeo. Not only was it a great win for you, or a great finish for you, but a great win for the team, because it was you in 2nd and it was your teammate Disaster in 1st. How does that make you guys feel? I don't know if you spoke to him at all in the interview waiting room, but you guys coming through in the Alfa Romeos now, that is a huge jolt of points to your already good haul of points. Disaster now is going to shoot up into a good standings position. How does this build your confidence for the season ahead now, coming into a break and then moving ahead for round 6?
I think for us, getting the 1-2 is a great boost. It is the best result the team can get. The last races, I couldn't get any points, so Daz was carrying the team literally, and it feels good to give back some points to the team.
Well, it was a great race. Unicorn, any questions for Undertaker after that thriller?
Well, absolutely. You know, just you touched on it there that the softs were a big risk, but was there, you know, for you, was there any alternative? Because obviously you could have gone on hards, or we saw, I believe, XTXP, you know, wait out and it really didn't work out for him. So was that always your plan when that safety car came out? Did you think at that point you had to just gamble for the softs because, you know, it really didn't look like you had a lot of other options?
Yeah, I was literally thinking about it until the last second before I entered the pits. Actually, when I entered the pits, I changed the tires to hards and then back to softs because I knew it was a big risk. I thought that if I put on hards, all the soft runners on medium would have an advantage on me. And I thought it is the better. I have better chance if I risk it, and it paid off. I didn't expect the softs to go that hard. At the end, I started losing pace, but I saw the other guys had a lot of penalties, so I decided to just take it easy, don't make mistakes, and go steady. I was in the time penalty of the guy front, so I knew I would get P2, and I decided to go as clean as possible to go for the better result.
Well, Undertaker, congratulations. What a way to score your first points of the season. You know, not only, you know, a P2, so a huge haul of points for you, huge haul of points for the team with the 1-2, and at Monza, your team's, you know, back garden. So for you, a huge evening, and I'm sure you're very happy with it. And as always, thank you for taking the time out to interview as well. So Undertaker, huge congratulations for that race.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Take care, Undertaker. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
That was Undertaker, everybody. What a race from him. It really was. Now we're going to speak to his teammate, and this is not the first, not the second time. It might not even be the third time. It might be the fourth time. I'm losing count. But it is Mr. Disaster in the Alfa Romeo. Congratulations on your race victory in Monza. Before I ask you any major questions, the first question I'm going to ask you is, do you think the stewards are going to find a way to strip this one?
Yes! Sorry. I'm so fucking relieved I got that win. I think, although it'll probably be result fucking pending, probably. So, sorry for swearing.
Yeah, let's just bring that down a bit. I get the
But
excitement.
no. Honestly, my emotions in that race went from serene to absolutely raging. To I couldn't keep my head. I got 2 warnings, and then I got back. I got a safety car, which was in my favour, and then I stayed out when everybody else pitted, and I got a safety car, and I was lucky in that respect. But yeah, sorry, one sec. I've got music playing in the background. It's putting me off. What was I saying? Yeah, no. Whether or not, I think I've got this one. I think I've won this one. Sorry, go next question.
Well, no, it was a great victory from you. You took pole position in this one. It was a great pole position as well. You secured it right in the end there. I think you had some of the guys in the pits probably really upset in the end. You guys not able to get final runs in, but you came through. You put that Alfa Romeo on pole. Talk us through that turn 1. Things went south quick for that pole position.
Did the turn 1 incident where I went from first place to like third or fourth or something?
You got shaken up, I think, in the first turn when you had, or on the opening of the race, you had Trick Sam come very early.
Oh yeah. No, I remember now. So yeah, I got a bit of a bog down. I went into third gear and I bogged down when I went into fourth, and I knew Trick Sam would be up next to me. I think we were sort of neck and neck. Maybe I was slightly ahead, but I did not expect him to go shooting across in front.
Yeah, he had
Luckily, I
gone
didn't
deep.
get damaged. Yeah. Luckily, I didn't get damaged. He didn't have penalties at that point, did he? I can't remember. Or did he get 10 seconds at that point? I don't
No, that
remember.
would have been before that had come through. But
Right, so,
it was
yeah,
just
no,
an intense race between not only you and him, but I think the entirety of the field through this one.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it was a lot of pressure. Trying to not spin in sector 2 was massive. Trying to keep the head. My neck is absolutely killing me. Just was straining my head. But no, got the win. I'm very happy, and I'm ecstatic for Undertaker because he's had a tough start, and he's got a P2 there. Which what a drive! What a drive! So
That
happy
was
for the team.
Thrilling team race for you guys today. Unicorn, any questions for Disaster after that amazing Alfa Romeo 1-2?
Well, I think we've pretty much covered everything, but as obviously you've been on the podium and it's been so close to the win, twice before, and then, last week didn't go your way at all. Your first DNF of the season, your first, time not scoring points, but now you bounce back, you get that, first win, and also you have that great result for Alfa Romeo as well. Obviously with Undertaker scoring his first points of the season, this brings you, just behind Ferrari in the standings. I haven't had time to calculate where Haas land after this, but this really fuels not only your drivers' championship hopes, but your constructors' championship hopes as well. So obviously it's a break week, but looking forward now, this must be a nice boost after Spa last week.
It's beautiful. I was so down after Spa, and basically it was my own error. It was nobody else's fault. I was pretty down. Luckily for me, my main competitor, Polly, Punk, and Grenade didn't do so well in Spa, so the gap stayed quite small. But I'm ecstatic. I feel bad for Grenade going, by the way. He was rapid in this race. He overtook me, and I thought this was going to go right down to the wire, and then just that horrible turn 1 curb ruined his race pretty much. I did see he fought back though, so well done to him as well.
Well, Daz, congratulations. You've got, one win under your belt. We'll see whether you can get some more in the future, of course, with how you've been going. Obviously, it looks pretty likely, but we're loving this post-championship battle you've got going on up at the top, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for Suzuka, where we hope all this action continues. But thank you, as always, for taking the time out to interview as well.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Congratulations
Bye-bye.
again. Take care.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. Bye.
That was an amazing race. And of course, I could not have done that one without you, Unicorn. That was a thrilling campaign to cast, of course, and thank you for taking the time to do it with me, of course, as always. And we'll be back tomorrow for Tier 3, Mr. Biddo and I. Tonight, I'll be with Mikal for America's Tier 2. So much racing this week. We have, 5 more races to come yet here around Italy. I'm very excited to see how the rest of the grids come around the Temple of Speed, of course. Any words from you, Unicorn, before we wrap things up ahead of the race later tonight?
Yes, Jeff, I think, this just brings championships closer together right now in Tier 4. It's a very, very exciting division with how close things are in terms of points. So I can't wait to see this continue. Obviously, we've got a break week now coming up, but we'll see how everything unfolds, and obviously throughout the rest of the week as well with all the other divisions. So there's a lot to look forward to, and Monza has already provided some superb action already, so hopefully that continues throughout the week. But we hope you all enjoyed watching along at home as much as we enjoyed watching it here in the commentary booth. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.